12 days ago, these hives had just received their second boxes. The colonies were growing fast, everything looked great, and honestly, I was feeling pretty proud of myself. Fast forward to today, and if you're paying attention, you'll notice something has changed. The hives now have third boxes on top. So clearly, the bees have been busy. But that's not the whole story, because while the bees were hard at work, the weather was working too. And unlike the bees, the weather doesn't really care about my woodworking ambitions. Before we head over to the apiary though, we need one very important tool, the smoker. You know, every beekeeper has one. And for me, this thing comes with a strange amount of nostalgia. When I was a kid, my grandfather kept bees. I remember seeing him light the smoker before every inspection. Back then it looked less like beekeeping and more like some kind of ancient ritual. He'd stand there, puffing smoke everywhere, surrounded by bees, looking like a wizard preparing a spell. And there was always that smell. To this day, I instantly recognize it. Funny thing is, I wasn't interested in beekeeping at all, not even a little. My grandfather loved it. I couldn't have cared less. And yet somehow, here I am, 45 years old, standing in front of my own apiary. Life has a sense of humor sometimes. Anyway, enough nostalgia. Let's see what happened during those 12 days. At first glance, everything looks fantastic. The colonies are growing, the bees are flying, the hives are standing exactly where I left them. Perfect. Well, almost perfect. Because after nearly 2 weeks of sun, rain, temperature swings, and moisture, a few design decisions started coming back to visit me. And they weren't friendly visits. Some of the wooden panels began to move. A few joints started opening slightly. Nothing catastrophic, but definitely the kind of thing that gets a beekeeper's attention. Because once water finds a way in, problems tend to get bigger, not smaller. Apparently, Mother Nature had reviewed my construction project and left a few notes. So today, we're going to fix it. The elegant hidden fasteners that look so beautiful during construction? Yeah, those are about to lose the argument. It's time for screws. Big screws. The kind that say, we're not discussing this anymore. So let's grab some tools, head into the middle of several thousand bees, and see if we can improve my woodworking without upsetting the homeowners. And this time, I've at least remembered to wear a veil. All right, let's start the inspection. Hive number 3, the experimental one. Just to remind you, this is the hive where I tried something a bit different. I placed the new 10-frame box at the bottom and moved the whole colony on top, trying to mimic a natural idea that the colony should develop downward. So I approach the hive and I try to open it. But it doesn't open. It's stuck, completely glued shut. I look into the small gap and immediately understand why. The bees have sealed everything with wax. They've literally glued the inner cover to the frames. And honestly, this is where the surprise hits. Because in just 12 days, they've worked that hard, fast, very fast. Any space larger than about a centimeter, they've already started to fill. No hesitation, no waiting, just building. And then I lift it, and I see it. Beautiful fresh comb, shiny wax, active honey stores, and bees everywhere. Calm, focused, working. It's one of those moments where you just stop for a second and watch. Because it really is beautiful. You almost forget you came here to inspect anything. But I continue, frame by frame, and the colony underneath is strong, very strong. A lot of bees, a lot of activity, everything alive, moving, functioning. And honestly, that part feels good. Now here's something important. The main entrance of the hive is at the bottom. So naturally, I was fully expecting the lower box to already be developed. Fully. That was the idea. But then I start pulling frames out, one by one, and nothing. Completely empty. Brand new, like they were just installed yesterday. No real comb, just a thin white film starting to appear on the wax foundation. That early stage when bees just begin to touch it. But that's it, and I pause, because something doesn't add up. 12 days, 12 full days, and not a single frame properly drawn in the lower box. Nothing. Everything looks untouched, and I zoom in a bit, just to be sure I'm not missing something. But no, it's real. And in that moment, I'm honestly in shock, because the first thought that comes to mind is, wait, is this happening in all the hives? But then something interesting happens later. A bit of reflection, because actually, I realized something important. It's a good thing I started the inspection with hive number 3, because now I'm seeing the pattern, and it's not random. Meanwhile, up in the upper colony, everything is completely different. That part is thriving, expanding, building upward. The bees are active, the colony is strong, and they are clearly focused on growth. It's almost the opposite behavior. I need to continue the inspection, because I still don't fully trust what I'm seeing. I need to confirm it, or prove myself wrong. That's the only way forward now. So I move to hive number 2, second box, brand new setup. I pull out the first frame, and wait, something's different here. This frame is fully drawn, completely built out. No hesitation from the bees at all. And even more than that, the queen is already there, walking across the frame, laying eggs directly into the freshly built cells. And at that moment, it feels like a weight just drops off my shoulders. Literally, a huge relief. So okay, this means it's not a general problem. It's not happening everywhere. It was something specific to hive number 3. My experiment went wrong there. But here, everything is working exactly as it should. To be sure, I gently place the frame back and take out the next one. And again, the same story. Beautiful comb, fully developed structure, and now even sealed brood starting to appear, which is a very good sign, because sealed brood means progress. It means the colony is not just building, it's growing, living, expanding. On one side, I still see the empty frames from the experimental hive, but here in hive number 2, it's the complete opposite. Eggs, brood, development everywhere. And suddenly everything makes sense. In about 10 days, these sealed cells will turn into new bees, and the colony will become even stronger. And that realization feels good, really good. The family is growing exactly the way it should. Let's take one more look at the frames, 12 days later. And honestly, it's pretty amazing. The speed of development, the scale of it, it's almost hard to believe when you see it up close. Just standing there, listening to the bees, that constant soft buzzing, watching the larvae, the movement, it becomes something more than just inspection. It's almost calming, strangely satisfying. Like you could just stand there and watch it forever. And then there's this frame, filled with fresh honey. It's bright, glossy, almost glowing in the sunlight, and it smells incredibly rich. So after seeing all of this, it becomes very clear. I made a mistake in hive number 3. A simple one, but an important one. The rule is now obvious. New empty frames should always go on top. That's how the colony expands naturally. Lesson learned. So I go back to hive number 3 and start correcting everything. Carefully, rebuilding the structure. Now I place the original colony at the bottom, as it should be. Then I move the second box back on top, restoring the proper order. Lower box, colony. Upper box, expansion. Exactly the way it needs to be. And yes, it's a bit frustrating, because 12 days have already passed, and in hive number 3, there has been almost no real progress in that lower box. And realistically, the next 10 or even 14 days won't magically catch it up. That part is gone. And that's the hard truth in beekeeping. Time matters a lot. I only have 3 colonies, so one of them falling behind is not a small thing. It's a significant loss in development potential. But that's the price of experimentation. You learn, sometimes the hard way. So I quickly put everything back together and head back toward the workshop, because now I need to prepare new boxes for hive number 1 and hive number 2. In the workshop, we start preparing new hive bodies, and basically turning simple wooden boxes into proper beehives. Because as we saw in the first part of this story, the original construction didn't really survive the reality check. Weather, moisture, sun, they all found the weak spots. So now, we fix it properly. No more just hoping it holds. First thing I do is reinforcement. 2 screws on each side, right into the edges. Nothing fancy, just strength. The idea is simple. If nature wants to move it, it won't. Next step, numbering. And honestly, this is one of the most useful things you can do in an apiary. Now I can clearly track which hive is which family is where, and even the exact box position. It brings order. And in beekeeping, order is everything. Then we turn the box into a real hive by adding the entrance. Now technically, bees mostly use the bottom entrance, but these openings are more than just doors. They also work as ventilation, and in summer heat, ventilation is critical. So I drill the opening and install a plastic insert. This gives a few options: a full entrance for bees, a restricted mode where only worker bees can pass, so the queen cannot leave, and also a ventilation setting, which helps control airflow inside the hive. Basically, it's a small control system for the colony. Depending on conditions, you can open it, restrict it, or just use it for airflow. Simple, practical, and much more controlled than before. And slowly, the boxes stop being just wooden frames and start becoming a proper system. Next step. After preparing the hive bodies, I need to build 20 frames and fit them with wax foundation. Now there are many ways to attach wax into a frame. Some people use different tools, different methods, but to be honest, I didn't try all of them. I found one method I really liked. It's simple and a bit improvised. I built a small setup on a piece of plywood, just a flat board, a support surface, and a 12-volt battery charger. Nothing fancy. I placed the wax foundation into the frame, press it down by hand, and clamp electrical contacts onto the wire inside the frame. Then I switch on the current. Now here's the interesting part. The electricity flows through the wire, and the wire itself becomes a resistor. It starts to heat up. Not too much, just enough. And as it heats up, it gently melts the wax around it. You can actually see it happening. Small droplets forming, the wax softening, and the wire slowly sinking into place. Then I release the contacts. The current stops. The wire cools down almost immediately, and the wax hardens again. Locked in place, strong, clean, and ready for bees. From that point on, the bees don't fight the structure. They just continue building on top of it, their own system, and each frame takes only seconds, 10, maybe 15 seconds per piece. I just repeat the process. Press, connect, heat, release, again and again, frame after frame. It's surprisingly satisfying and efficient. Honestly, for a small operation like mine, this method works perfectly. No complicated equipment, no factory setup, just electricity and a bit of patience. So I continue. 20 frames, done one by one, and once everything is ready, it's time to go back to the apiary. So, back to the apiary again, and we open the hive. Now the goal is simple. We install the new boxes, but this time we do it properly, based on what the experiment has already shown me. New boxes always go on top, no exceptions. So I look at hive number 1 and 2, and I check the frames. Over the last 12 days, about 7.5 frames out of 10 have already been developed, which is actually very solid progress. Now I need to find the right frame, the key frame, a frame with young brood, fresh eggs, 1 or 2 days old, and I think I found it. Yes, this one. You can clearly see it, tiny white dots inside the cells. That's fresh brood, very young larvae, just started. This is exactly what I need. So I take this frame and place it in the middle of the new upper box, right in the center, and then I replace its original position with an empty wax foundation frame. Now here's the logic. Once you insert fresh foundation into the middle of the hive, the bees don't ignore it. They immediately start working on it, because now it's inside their active zone. And even more importantly, because the frame with young brood is above it, nurse bees will naturally move upward. They follow the brood, they care for it, and while they are there, they start building everything around it. So the upper box begins to develop fast, very fast, at least in theory. So one hive is done. Now I move to the second one. Same process. Open the cover, add new wax foundation. But here I do something slightly different. I add 2 frames instead of 1, just to compare development speed between the 2 colonies, because I want to see how different they really are. Then I check the frames more carefully, and I avoid the wrong ones. Some frames are already too advanced, almost fully capped brood. Those are not useful for this step anymore, because soon, those bees will emerge and the frame will no longer attract the same level of attention. What I need is active development, open brood, constant feeding, constant care. That's what keeps the colony busy. That's what drives expansion. So I place the selected frames into the second hive as well. 2 frames here. And now, the system is set. After this inspection, I probably don't need to touch them for 2 weeks, at least in theory. Both hives now have enough space and enough resources to develop on their own. The third hive, after the experimental setup, will also have time to recover, slowly, naturally. And now it's just a matter of waiting and watching, because everything is set, for now. So I close the hives and leave them to it. The bees do what they do best. And I'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully, to good news.